Hi, everyone. This is Michelle Gramoglia, the president and CEO here at Woodland Pond, and this is my weekly address for a Tuesday. Today could be any Tuesday, and it's not a Tuesday, actually, it's Friday. I'm really out of it. I'm finally getting back to it. It is my weekly address for a Friday, and it is Friday, March 6th, 2026. As you can see, I am finally back after a week-long illness. Finally made the call to go see the doctor yesterday, and they've got me on the mend. I appreciate everyone's patience. I'm still working through a little bit of this brain fog, as you can see with my getting the date and day wrong, but I do know that it's a Friday, and my calendar is telling me that it's March 6th. I hope everyone has been well. Certainly this is sort of the walking, talking evidence that there are lots of things going around. I did not have the GI, the norovirus, and I did not have an upper respiratory infection. I had something completely different, which the doctor thinks is some extreme manifestation of a sinus infection that also really knocked me off my feet. So, there's just a lot going around. And before I get into both the construction related updates and some things that came across my plate, I want to take the moment to give a little bit of an update as to where we are with communicable illnesses on campus. Currently, we had one new case of norovirus in an independent living staff member overnight. We had a new positive test for COVID in a health center staff member yesterday. That's the only COVID case. The GI case or the norovirus case that I mentioned, that's the only one we're aware of currently. So each of those are singular at this point. We do have 4 or 5 residents that are currently being treated in independent living for upper respiratory infections. The list kind of goes on in terms of what kind of things can come across our immune systems right now. It is super, super critical that we're all following the most basic infection control protocols. And, if nothing else, that is staying in when you're sick. Don't come down and tell us that you're sick. Make a phone call. If you've been exposed to someone, isolate yourself. If you're feeling unwell, please isolate yourself. Hand washing is paramount. And the hand washing is so important. I know I've talked about it on prior addresses. We've talked about other things. You need to kind of think about your day, right? So you're washing your hands, you're scrubbing really well. As soon as you start to leave your apartment or leave the area that you're in, you're touching something. You're touching a doorknob, you're maybe touching an elevator button, you're touching your cell phone. All of these things, particular to the GI bug, the norovirus, those germs are sitting on all of those surfaces if you have not had them disinfected, or if we have not disinfected since the last time they were exposed. So what I've gotten into the habit of doing is not using my fingertips for a lot of that stuff. So I'm carrying around clean paper towels to open doorknobs. I am, using some part of my body to hit an elevator button that is not my hands. So maybe my elbow or my wrist, or even maybe carrying a paper towel and doing that. Because this norovirus sits on surfaces for between 4 weeks and 4 months and is still totally virile. So we really need to be thinking about, what am I touching even after I wash my hands? How do I keep my hands clean? And then how do I make sure that before I touch any part of my face that has an opening, that I've washed my hands again? It's a lot of mindfulness, but that's what's really going to ultimately help us get past some of these things. COVID, the upper respiratory infections, they can be transmitted in a variety of different ways, primarily airborne. The sinus infection thing that I had, the doctor does not think that it was communicable. They think it might have been due to allergies, getting exacerbated, or potentially a bacterial sinus infection. The windows are going to be open soon. We're asking you to do that. Not just yet, but it's going to be warm. It's going to be mild. Keep the windows open. Please don't have your air on at the same time, but get that fresh air into your homes. If you need help or you want some additional disinfecting, call us, let us know, put a work order in with either reception or concierge. But just basic, please don't be going out into public if you're sick. And we are working right now with our infectious disease nurse to identify what the protocols on campus should be if you are diagnosed with something, say an upper respiratory infection, and you're currently on an antibiotic, we will be issuing protocols on what you should be doing in terms of isolating. As far as I'm concerned, if you're still being treated, you're still sick, but I'm not an infection control nurse. So there will be more coming on that. If you have questions, please ask us, and we will just continue to try to advance health and wellness. Keeping in mind hydration, keeping bland foods on hand is really important. Replenishing electrolytes, lots of different things. This weekend is daylight savings time. It really crept up on us. That means that we are springing ahead overnight on Saturday night at 2 a.m. Most of us have devices that will automatically do that, but it means that what is now 6 a.m. will be 7 a.m. on Sunday morning. So it'll be a little bit darker in the morning for the first half an hour, 45 minutes, but in the evening, you get that sunlight back. That will coincide nicely with milder weather next week. But yes, daylight savings time is this Saturday night. We currently have our participation in government students from New Paltz High School on campus are here today. I think that their schedule got pushed from yesterday, so I don't think they've gotten a ton of residents participating in their programs today, but those are the piglets. And again, they're from the Participation in Government program at New Paltz High. They will be here on Monday with an activity open to all residents. They love to see people. I know every resident likes to interact with high school and college students. So you can swing by there in the classroom on Monday at 12:30. They're doing something called salon. I don't know exactly what that means, but maybe help with hair and makeup, maybe a little bit of attention to some of those salon style details. So you can go ahead into the classroom and see them on Monday at 12:30. We have made some improvement to the flex space entrances. We had the contractor come out yesterday, and they have installed the promised magnetic door hold openers in both the flex space and the flex fitness. And what this means is that now we can safely keep those doors held open on their magnetic hold openers, and it is in compliance with fire code. What that means in reality is that if the fire alarm goes off, those mags automatically release and then fire doors will close. We have these all over campus. If you see any sets of double doors, typically they're going to be on those. You'll see them in the hallways and so forth. We've added them down here so that we can have some added visibility. I know that the doors are very heavy, particularly for the flex space. So this will help those people that have mobility issues or are balancing lots of things in their hand. So we will look to keep those doors open wherever it's appropriate. I would like to see them held open when we have different activities and things going on, because it actually reduces the disruption of people coming in and out of the door. If there's a speaker, for example, if you are the facilitator, you can make that decision, but the preference is that they remain open. I am going to do a few construction-related updates in a moment. One of the things that I am very excited to show you an image of is that the post office boxes have begun being installed in the new mailroom. And as many of you know, we have eliminated mail cubbies in the mailroom. Partially that was due to the fact that we're completely changing the way we do operational distribution of handouts. They're not going to go into individual cubbies anymore. So we don't need the cubbies for that purpose. But also because the ADA requirements for our mailroom have completely changed from the existing condition to the new required condition. And when I show you those photos in a minute, you'll see exactly what I mean. So all of the federal mailboxes had to come down significantly to sort of be just sort of centralized in the middle of the wall. But the new federal mail requirements also require that we have large mailer and package for smaller packages delivery in the mailroom. So we had to accommodate for a lot of that. I know the resident council yesterday took a vote to try to find a place for the cubbies. I recognize the vote was taken. Just give us an opportunity to explain how the operational side of this is going to change such that we don't need the cubbies anymore. There will not be wide-scale distribution of things like the Chanticleer and Woodland Life into individual cubbies. We will have specific distribution points within the mailroom where those documents will be maintained, but just not in cubbies. So rest assured, we have a plan. It will allow everything to go out as it needs to, but we have registered your vote. Next Saturday, I think this is in the Chanticleer, you will have an opportunity to buy Girl Scout cookies here on site. They do not need to be pre-purchased or pre-ordered. There will be a table that has the variety of Girl Scout cookies that are being offered this year. If you're not familiar with what varieties of Girl Scout cookies are available in 2026, there are lots of the classics, and they always sort of circle through some new ones. The troop is local, and they will be here from 9 until 1 next Saturday, and they accept cash or check. So if you're in the mood for some Thin Mints or some peanut butter patties, you can go ahead and grab yourself a box of Girl Scout cookies. They stay really well in the freezer. I know, because I am secretly a big fan of Thin Mints in the freezer. I've got 2 items from the box, and then I will do a quick construction update. Australian accent not included. This one says dated 2/25 of 26 and signed by the resident. So thank you very much. I have used the automatic, these are the new automatic doors at the lower ends of the north and south wings, and they are wonderful. Residents may not realize we installed automatic door openers at the ground floor doors on the south wing that face the cottages. So you just swipe your badge there and the door automatically opens. It's great. Something we were able to fit into the capital budget for this year. This resident is indicating that they are wonderful. They are especially helpful when bringing in groceries and for any kind of assistive device, etc. We agree. Can we have an automated door like that at both of those doors at the library entrance? So the one that's currently closed, they're asking if we could do the same kind of badge swipe to open those doors. When that entry reopens, this would be so helpful and appreciated, and then the resident has left their name. I am going to bring this up to the design and construction team and then also our operations team on campus. One nuance at that set of doors that's being requested here, which is the library set. The exterior door is a badge door. So in theory, and I'm not the manufacturer or the vendor, but in theory, you could swipe that and with your badge, and like the north and south doors, it would open automatically. The issue is the interior door there. The interior door there is a fire door. It's very heavy, and it's on a very tight closer, and it's not a badge access. So that I would need to think about a little bit, as would the team. So we've made note of it. I'm certain we could do the exterior door, but it's that interior door in that alcove that I'm not so certain can be accomplished as easily and as cost effectively, but we will certainly look at that. This one is also signed by a resident and reads as follows. It's a little bit lengthy, but I will read it because I think it's valuable. It says, with all of the snow that we've had this winter, I had a concern that I've never thought about before. In the event that my spouse or I had some kind of a medical emergency, we have a plan in place with some Woodland Pond friends about what we would do. Each of us would assist the other in terms of getting settled in the hospital and provide transportation home. Or if we're hospitalized, bring necessities to us in the hospital. That's what friends do for each other. That's a great plan to have, and reminds me that many years ago, we used to actually ask residents to notify us of your plans related to this, and that's something we should look at again soon so that we know your plan just as well as you do. However, what if the emergency occurred in the midst of a storm? I know that I would ride to the hospital in the ambulance with my spouse, but then what? I could not ask friends to do anything for me. My spouse and I are a family of 2, so there is not a familial backup plan. Is there some kind of protocol in place? If not, based on the history of others at Woodland Pond, what have they done? I asked myself, what would you have done before you moved to Woodland Pond? That was simple. I'd walk across the street because we lived across the street from the hospital. I really like this note. It definitely gives us an opportunity to think about what the scenario would be in that case. I will tell you that when a resident goes out to the hospital that does not have local familial support, which is actually more common than I think a lot of you realize. A lot of you don't necessarily have family local, and a lot of you find your network within Woodland Pond. Some of you don't have that either, but Woodland Pond then becomes your network. That's why we're here. We do not just leave people to flounder in the hospital if you're by yourself. We always try to find a neighbor or a friend. Sometimes we will send a staff member, obviously weather permitting in this case, but we would be that go-between for you, and we would deal with that on a case-by-case basis if it was a situation of inclement weather. I like the fact that you've normalized in your letter that you don't have that familial backup. And it's something that I think between our social services teams and a variety of our different other support departments, we really need to talk about a little bit more, because I think some of you feel like you're the only one that maybe doesn't have a family locally or family to rely on. It's really much more common here at Woodland Pond than you think. We just need to be really familiar with that and then help you craft your plans for support. Even up to the point where in the last 2 weeks, we've had 2 residents that have been on the verge of passing away. And for the purposes of the fact that their family was stuck with travel or lived out of the country, their families could not get to them to sit vigil. We all stepped in to perform that role. We are here to help you and support you through your life and every stage of life at Woodland Pond. So I don't want you to fret about it. The most important thing is that you're communicating to us how you're feeling, where you think that you have the need for assistance, and we will get those plans in place for you. That's what Woodland Pond is for. Okay, now I'm going to try to do something technologically savvy and play Dave for a minute while he's at a conference in Arizona, an industry conference, or maybe on a plane traveling back. I'm going to try to share my screen to show you some images from the week. Before I do that, I want to try to share something from Tom, which is sort of construction related. Let's see if I can try to do this. This is going to be kind of a long shot, but we will see. On your screen right now, you should see an image of an aerial image rendering of Woodland Pond, with this being the front of the building. So like here's concierge, here's health center entrance, and these are the wings, north, central, and south. This is George Danskin Way. As you can see here, this is a notification to the people that utilize entrance or exit C of the south wing, which is the one that's more further down the corridor when you're walking towards the mountains. Starting at 9 a.m. on Monday, we're going to be ripping that sidewalk out and replacing it. Due to settlement of the building over the years and the sidewalk settlement, there's become quite a step down, and it's time for us to make that flush. We had actually authorized this work back in the fall, but with our fabulous winter conditions this year, we haven't been able to do that. So that'll take basically about the week. So please use alternate accommodations from that exit. Obviously, it will be marked. I will try to share something else now. Which is this. Okay, so not that picture. That's all of them. So I'm going to show you a few things. So this week we did a lot more interior work here on campus. We did a bunch more saw cutting, which is the most annoying part of this construction process, clearly, because it's the loudest when you're cutting through existing concrete, and we apologize for that. Fortunately, most of the work that we have to do is not saw cutting, but there are times that it happens, and we had a bunch this week to make some progress on advancing some of the interior plumbing and electrical issues that we needed to add into the existing condition. Just going through a few of the highlights for the week, though, I'm going to show you some spaces that you might not recognize. You can play a little guessing game with yourself. Let's start with a real easy one. I'm sure you know what this is. This is our pool area. As you can see, the existing decking has been completely stripped. All of the tile work is gone. This is going to be replaced with a poured epoxy floor, which is a no-slip epoxy floor, and it's designed specifically for pool decking. It will completely replace those mats that we had, make it much more easily cleanable, which is what we're so excited about. It's non-slip. It's a very nice, aesthetically pleasing condition. So that will do the entire pool deck and the spa deck here. The locker rooms themselves have a beautifully appointed non-slip tile floor that will go in. So that's not the poured epoxy, but as you can see, lots of work going on here. All of the tile work is off of the walls. We've had to replace some sheetrock and do some other things. The great thing about this design team, this construction team, is, you know, they're going into spaces, they have a plan, but they may get into a space and determine, oh, you know, there's some water damage here. Anytime they encounter anything like that, they're notifying Woodland Pond and they're asking us to be able to fix that. And we are approving it. Obviously, it's an added cost to the project, but we don't want to ever, you know, mask an existing issue. We haven't run into a lot of things like that, but we have a 17-year-old building. And in places like this, everybody knows anywhere where there's water, there's more likely to be damage, you know, moisture, those kinds of things. So they're doing a fantastic job. I could not be happier with the diligence. Even from an infrastructure perspective, we're going to end up with a better product on the end of this. So exciting things for you to know. Great team, eyes wide open all the time. We are going to be painting the pool and the spa, so this will be nice and spiffy when it comes out, but really exciting images here. Going back out to the options of spaces, let's give you another one that you might not recognize. So, anybody have any guesses to what this is? I'll give you a little bit of a hint. This is a temporary wall. This is an existing exterior exit that was close to the art studio, the old art studio. This is some of that infamous saw cutting. Do you know where we are? Guess where? This is the pool behind a temporary wall. This is the old pack, and I'll show you what it looks like on the inside. Soon to be gymnasium slash pickleball slash yoga. But you can kind of see, and you can kind of envision here with this amount of existing slab that had to be saw cut away, why it would be so loud and so intrusive. But we needed to run plumbing down there in order to service some of the new plumbing that's going to be required in the wellness wing. But just really cool images here. This is the alternative view. So this is the old pack. Again, soon to be new gymnasium, looking towards, let's say, the salon. So the pool is over here. This is before the temporary walls were put up that I just showed you. But you can see lots of material starting to be stored, lots of work being done. I'm sure you're aware at this point that in order to accommodate all of the things we want to do in the gymnasium, we needed to pull out all of the existing ductwork, the electricals, everything from the ceiling, because we needed to raise the ceiling and expand that to make it more appropriate for some of the activities we plan to do in there, specifically pickleball, lots of other things. Eventually on the other side of this wall will be mirrored. There are acoustical treatments and padding scheduled for the entire room. There will be viewing glass windows here and doors. Very exciting space. Let's see. Any guesses as to what this is? This one's kind of easy. If you ever spent any time in the fitness center, the old fitness center, this is what this looks like now. We had added a temporary emergency exit. So if we ever have to evacuate any part of that wing, we would evacuate through here. And this will be one part of the new fitness space. This will hold all of the strength training equipment. We are making a significant investment in strength training equipment. It is already included in the project budget. We are getting those numbers in. Suffice it to say, the right stuff is expensive, and we're looking at a couple 6 figures there, but completely worth it. We know this gets a lot of use, and we're excited about that. Um, Another image. We'll play guess where we are again at Woodland Pond. Any guesses on where this is? This looks nothing like what it normally does, but these double doors should give you a hint. That's the old art studio and will be the salon. So the actual layout of the space is changing a bit, and obviously this is going to be a full service salon. There has been a wall constructed here, but there are places in both surrounding areas that will have new sets of types of windows and all kinds of things. This will be a beautifully appointed space, but this is where we're looking at right now for the old art studio and new salon. This is all work this week, by the way. Let's see, anything else interesting here, exciting? Some more saw cutting. This is actually, any guesses here? This right here is that new temporary plexiglass window looking into the old office spaces from the admin corridor. So if your face was in this window and looking into the space, this might have been like Bridget's old office or Christie's in the admin, but we had to do some saw cutting there, lots of saw cutting. That's what happens when you're working on slab. And you can see we have been doing a lot of that kind of work. And just, showing some stored materials. Not sure exactly which stored materials these are, but these are things that are on campus, lots of things starting to roll in. And one of the very wet exterior view shots. This is actually looking out from the old salon. You can see very muddy. We are dealing with muddy conditions right now. It's supposed to be extremely mild and rainy over the next couple of days, but these guys are pros, and they know what they need to do to dry this out as quickly as they can to continue their pouring and those kinds of things. So a lot more of the same next week. We are looking for you to continue to let us know where we can help you, what grievances that you might have related to construction and other things. All of those grievance forms can be obtained at Concierge. We look at them, we track them, I report them to the board. We take it seriously. We want this to work for you. And last final reminder, the easels outside of Hostess Station are the place you go to if you want to know the project timeline. There's a map, there's a calendar, and there's 2-week lookout notes. Go there, you'll get all the information that you need. And I will actually see you next Tuesday, and Dave will see you Friday. Have a great weekend, and see you then.